I'm Lynn.
And I'm Mark.
And we're glad you joined us today.
Welcome to the Digital Marketing Hot Seat Podcast,
where small business owners ask us their number one pain point digital marketing question.
And put us in the hot seat.
Hi, I'm Lynn Smargis, and I'm a content writer specializing in ghostwriting, podcast production, and SEO website content.
And I'm Mark Thackeray, and I specialize in social media marketing, specifically Facebook and Instagram ads, email marketing, and email automation.
I'm ready, Mark. Are you ready?
I sure am. Let's do this.
Hey, small business owners. We are so glad you joined us today again for another episode of the Digital Marketing Hot Seat Podcast, where you get to listen to small business owners putting marketing in the hot seat to answer their digital marketing questions. And in today's episode of the Digital Marketing Hot Seat Podcast, Mark and I are going to be in the hot seat with our fellow small business owner, Katie Barbaro, asks us her burning digital marketing questions. So Mark, would you like to read about Katie and what she does?
I would love to. So Katie is a fellow podcast producer herself with Casual Ecstasy is the name of her podcast. And she is also a book author. And that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about today. She recently released her book, Fed Up, An Illustrated Guide to Food Freedom. Katie is an intuitive healer and creative doula with a background in occupational therapy, trauma-informed yoga, and improv and stand-up comedy, which we might call upon her. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see how the show's going, and then we might dive into that a little bit. But her recently published book is the one we're going to be talking about. Fed Up, An Illustrated Guide to Food Freedom is a cartoon-based memoir about her experience recovering from disordered eating and discovering her true self, creativity, and spirituality on the other side. In her book, she quite literally illustrates her own process of shining light into the darkest areas of life in the hopes of guiding others to liberate themselves from whatever is holding them back from being their truest selves.
All right. So Mark, are you ready for the digital marketing hot seat question?
I am absolutely ready. Katie, why don't you give us your digital marketing hot seat question?
Okay, I'm so excited to put you guys in the hot seat. What is the best way to digitally market my book? I just released it less than a month ago, and I could use way more help in this area.
All right,
Lynn, go ahead. Let's start off with you.
All right. So since I have a book, and we've shared this a little bit before, I have my own self-published book as well. You definitely want to start like 6 months ahead of time. So one of the things like new book publishers, especially when you're self-publishing, aren't aware of is that with book publishing, you want to start marketing your book 6 months before you plan on publishing it, which sounds like a lot, but the actual easy part, quote unquote, of publishing a book is writing it. And that sounds really funny because most people have a hard time just getting the book written. But that's actually the easy part of book publishing, is getting your book written. So the hard part is the marketing, because there's so many things you can do with marketing, but you need to figure out, like, as a small business owner and you're one person, like, what can you handle? Because you can't do 30 things at once. So there's lots of different things. So we'll talk about a little bit about like how you can market on social media. We'll talk about like doing Amazon ad buys. Also give you some information. Like there's this one really great program. It's called Publisher Rocket. And that's a really great program to find out like what keywords you want for your paperback book, and then what keywords you want for your ebook, because the keyword categories are a little bit different sometimes for the ebook and the published book. And also they rank differently for ebook and published book. So you can't necessarily use the same exact keywords for your regular paperback book as you would for your ebook. And so Mark, do you want to give a little bit of background on like just general marketing techniques?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when you look at marketing a book, for me, my mind goes immediately to, okay, who's my audience that I'm trying to reach with this book, and so identifying what that person is, the ideal reader is, and where can I find more of those people? So most likely you'll find some on social media for sure. You can also do things like this, a podcast where you find someone who hosts a podcast that's targeting that same audience and present, offer to come on their show and share, some of the things that you've learned from your experiences that are straight from the book. So yeah, I think, and then there's just some tactical offers that I've seen in the past, or tactics that you can use to increase some sales, increase some traction there that we'll talk about once we get into it a little bit more. But yeah, there's lots of different ways. Excited to dive right into it. But before we do, we are going to take a quick commercial break. But when we get back, like I said, we'll dive deeper into the answers on how to market your book in the digital space. Do you need more people visiting your website? Are you looking for higher ranking on Google searches? Or are you frustrated by the ever-changing rules of social media?
Mark and I are here to take away the headaches and stress of digital marketing with services such as website content, social media ads, and website SEO. We can provide the digital marketing magic you need to increase the number of people seeing your website and clicking on your business links.
Visit our website at www.digitalmarketinghotseat.com and hit us up on our contact page to reserve your complimentary consult. Find out how our marketing team can take the worry and hassle of digital marketing off of your plate and onto ours.
All right, so before we jump into the last half of our show, Mark and I want to invite you to subscribe to the Digital Marketing Hot Seat podcast on your favorite podcast player. In addition, we invite you to watch our video on both of our YouTube channels. You can find me at Right For You Content Creation on YouTube, and you can find Mark on Facebook at Mark Thackeray Group. As always, the links mentioned will be in the show notes, so scroll underneath the album cover and click on the link so you can subscribe to both Mark and I's social media feeds. All right, let's jump back into the show. So Katie, can you repeat your question so I can freshen everybody's mind that we're answering for your digital marketing question?
Sure. So I just released a book and I'm wondering what the best way is to digitally market it. And I do want to add, I'm actually not self-publishing. I have a publisher. So I wonder if that, I just am curious if that also influences the ways that I would be doing this, but I'm pretty much marketing it on my own.
Yeah. And so that's actually a big misnomer with a lot of people. Like a lot of people think like, oh, if I go with a publisher, they're going to do all the marketing, and they actually do very little marketing. And sometimes they'll give you an advance up front to pay for some marketing, but they generally don't really help you with marketing. And that's what I found from a lot of people who have published and thought that the publisher was going to help them with the marketing, which is the hardest part. But they really don't do a lot with the marketing. So one of the things that I suggest, there's a couple of things that have been really successful for me in my book. So my book is The Guide to Traveling Gluten-Free. And since it's all about, it is a travel guide, but it's more specifically for gluten-free people. One of the things I've had a lot of success with is going to expos. So now that expos are coming back in real life. So going to expos, gluten-free expos specifically, because I know everybody there is going to be gluten-free, and selling my book there. So that's been really good. So probably like women's expos, or if you find like some type of niche expo that you know your avatar is at, that's a really great place to get exposure for your podcast, and also to sell your book. Another great way to sell your book that not a lot of people utilize because they're a little bit scared and they don't know how to talk to influencers is by going on Instagram and voice message. So on Instagram, you can follow people, you can message people. So when you hit the message button, and you don't have to follow them to message them, and you hit that little microphone, you can actually voice message that person on Instagram, which is way more effective than typing. So what I do for people is I message them on Instagram, say, hey, this is my new book. It's The Guide to Traveling Gluten-Free. Would you, if I sent you a copy, would you mind reading a chapter and then just making a video of what you learned in that chapter on Instagram? And that is a super effective way to market your book, because you're asking them for something specific. You're asking them to do it. And I always ask them to say, hey, can you do it in like a week after you receive the book? So it gives them a timeline, gives them something very specific to do. And then video is one of the ways that a lot of people will watch. And so you get really great exposure from another influencer who has a good following. Now you want to pick an influencer that posts on a regular basis. So they don't have to have 10,000 people to get you traction, but they do want to, we want somebody who is active. So that's a really great way to market your book. And yes, you have to pay for the postage and send out your book. So it costs about $5 to $7, depending on how much you get your book for. But that $7 is a great investment in marketing for your book, because you have an influencer who is in your same space who is also talking about your book. So those are two really great ways to market. Also, you could do Amazon ads. I've had like mixed results with that, but I'm guessing it just depends on like what your genre is and how much people are looking for it too. So you can do Amazon ads. So Mark, what about email marketing? Because I know email marketing is a really great and effective way to market your book, but you want to do it in a very focused way, not just say, hey, here's my book.
Right. And I think you can go, there's a couple different routes you can go with this. So with email, I would certainly recommend, sending your own broadcasts out to your own list of contacts, trying to encourage other people to sign up for your list. But in those email campaigns, I would, basically dripping content on some of the things that you've learned that were always pointing back towards the book, right? I mean, you're giving people a little bit of taste of what the book is all about, and establishing some credibility, and then offering them the chance to purchase the book. So that's something you can do on your own. Additionally, much like Lynn said in regards to influencers, finding those strategic partners that would allow you to provide value to their audience. That could be someone who has a good email list, that's in a kindred space, that's not necessarily competitive, but it's also reaching that same audience that you would like to reach. That's a great opportunity for you to come in and say, hey, I'm sure that some of your audience facing these type of challenges that I faced. I'd love to come and just share what I've learned in the process, and you'll get a chance to promote your book at the end. So that's a great way to gain exposure to a lot of people through a trusted source, and without really any capital, like hard money investment there. It's just building that relationships. And you can do that with email. You can do that with podcasts for sure, like I mentioned before, and social media collaboration, like Lynn mentioned. So those are a couple of ones that, I would tend to start with, just because these are people that oftentimes have spent, all this time and money and effort to building a good relationship with their audience and with their list. And you can come in and really gain access to that for free, and not to treat that lightly by any means. But the thing is with creators, and this as a podcast host, this as a writer and content creator yourself, some of the hardest things to do is continue to create that content, and so if you can come to someone, a fellow content creator, and provide that done for them essentially, and just say, here's what I'd like to do, just have them make it so easy for them to just sign off on, then your chances of success go way up. I've done that for a number of people in a number of different industries, where we'll just come in and share, like it could be a training, a webinar training. And that's another thing that I'd written down for you was you could do a similar thing, where whether it's a podcast or an email or a webinar, where you're jumping on and sharing some of your experiences, some tips, and then promoting the book at the end. You're providing a ton of value for people, and saving them, if they're a content creator, a ton of time and effort in trying to come up with something that they can send to their list. So those are what I would start with. I'd say, tactically speaking, and you see some of these things all the time, but when it comes to an offer, for example, you see like free shipping or some of those things to get people over the hump, or even a free copy of the book. All they have to do is pay for shipping and handling, depending on where your costs sit, but if this is, a book to you, if there's stuff on the back end that you can offer too, then that's typically where you see a free book. You just pay for shipping and handling, is when they have something down the road that they can offer them as well. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways, but typically I tend to start with who has an ear to that same audience that I'm already looking to gain access to, and then start there, because it's going to make it a lot easier. It takes time to build that relationship, but it can really accumulate pretty fast if you're able to hop on someone who has a really strong audience and promote your book that way.
Yeah. And another couple ideas I thought of based on, Mark, what you're saying with cross-promoting and partnering with the right people. One of the people I recently partnered with, she does gluten-free vacation, and she's a travel agent. And so I offered her my book at a bulk discount if she buys so many. And so she buys them and actually gives them to her clients before they go on vacation, so they can use my book to plan. And another great idea with marketing your book as well is to connect with an organization. So like, I know there's got to be organizations out there, like nonprofits, who specialize in eating disorders, and connecting with them and say like, hey, can I offer my book to you at a bulk price so that you can resell it on your online, or maybe do a collaboration where like they'll post and like direct people like they'll post your book on their site and then they'll direct people to your site for them to buy it, or your Amazon page, or wherever you want to direct it. So those are also two great ways to get more exposure without having to like do a lot of footwork and traffic. But it is definitely networking and building those relationships.
Amazing. Wow. I'm taking so many notes. This is so helpful. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'm remembering, I have a creativity course that I created last year, and I could totally offer that to people as okay, if you buy the book now, you get access to this course, like, something like that. Or they buy the course and they get the book for free, something like that. So
yeah, I think for yours, because yours is specifically eating, I think buying the book and then getting the course for free, I think would work better. Because of like the people who are buying your book are probably looking to like enhance their lives. So they're going to want that course. And also you could like limit it to like, hey, you get it for 30 days for free. And then maybe they pay for it, or maybe you do like a mini course and then they can buy the bigger course. So something like that, we can ramp them up into like buying a bigger level of what you have to offer. It also works as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. Yes. You guys are so amazing.
Thank you. So Katie, tell us more about your book and about your podcast, that Casual Ecstasy, and where can people connect with you?
Amazing. Yes. I would love to. I have the book right here. I can show you. It's called Fed Up, an Illustrated Guide to Food Freedom, as Mark mentioned. And it's completely handwritten and illustrated. Yeah. The whole thing is just full of
it's a work of art. It is incredible.
Amazing. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It is. Yeah, it was really fun to make. When I was writing it, I knew that the energy that I came into writing it with would be what people received when they read it. And so I really wanted it to feel like a sleepover with myself. There was a lot of these stories that I just needed to tell when it came to my experience recovering from disordered eating. It was like these stories sort of lived inside of my body, and I felt pregnant with them. And then I birthed it into this book. And so it feels amazing to be able to share it with people.
Well, congratulations on your book, Katie. That's so exciting.
Thank you so much.
Hey, did you do the illustrations as well?
Oh, I did. Yes. This is these are my drawings and handwriting. This is all my handwriting
incredible.
In the book. There's my ex-boyfriend. There's our Hawaiian pizza dinner. And yeah, so it sounds like a really heavy topic, but really like infusing lightness into it is really my jam. It's like we sometimes avoid areas of ourselves that feel too overwhelming to face. But the truth is we're all dealing with stuff like that, whether it's, and the eating disorder was just what I used to distract myself from it. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say, Katie. As you were talking about that, I thought, man, there's so many parallels to other parts of life, other aspects of life that we struggle with. It's not, it could be an eating disorder, but it could be something else entirely that you read this and still find a ton of helpful information there.
That's what I've heard from a lot of people. They're like, I've never struggled with an eating disorder, but this connects with this other thing that I struggle with, or this connects with, so that is a good reminder. Thank you for saying that, because while sure, my avatar is probably more of somebody, somebody who feels like a victim of diet culture, as most of us are in the Western world, but, it will probably resonate really hard with them, but it's really for anybody. Who feels intrigued by it. So I'm excited to take what you've shared with me and, use that as a framework for how I share this with more people. And if people want to find me, they can find me on Instagram at the Fed Up Book, and also the fedupbook.com is where you can find all of the information about where to buy it. It's on Amazon, and it's also sold through my publisher, and the ebook is coming soon. Although I feel like holding it is just so nice. There's French flaps. And my podcast is called Casual Ecstasy. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. And I'll be excited to, connect with anybody. Reach out to me on Instagram. I like it. I like to connect. So thank you.
Well, so great having you as a guest today, Katie. And Mark, what can people expect from our next episode number 13?
So we have, for our next episode, business owners can tune in, where we're going back to a digital marketing 101 episode. And these are basically where we will discuss various aspects of digital marketing. And in this one in particular, we'll be diving into your end of year digital marketing review. So looking ahead to 2022 and what and how to plan that out so as to maximize your results moving forward. So it's going to be a great episode. Looking forward to that.
And remember, always reach out to us. If you have any questions about digital marketing, you can visit our website, www.digitalmarketinghotseat.com, and grab a complimentary consult from Mark or myself.
We're so glad you joined us on today's episode.
Tune in each week for a new digital marketing hot seat question from a small business owner just like you.
And if you're interested in being a guest on our podcast, go to digitalmarketinghotseat.com and fill out our interview form.
And remember, make sure to like and subscribe to the Digital Marketing Hot Seat podcast on your favorite podcast player.